Hi, this is Elias, and this is a new series of guides to the world of motorcycles. We were wondering what would be the best way to show you the different types of motorcycle sports. We decided that the coolest way to do this would be to visit the best professionals in the industry, talk to amateurs, and show you what you need to do to start your own adventure. How to prepare for it, so you can do it not only professionally but also as an amateur. We're starting our series of guides with number one in my heart, and I think that's true for many fans of off-road riding, meaning motocross. What is motocross? Motocross, it's a form of racing held on closed tracks, built from sand, clay, and various loose materials, full of berm turns, ruts, flat sections, and of course jump switch is the coolest part of motocross. Motocross races usually feature 40 riders. And during a single day, there are two races, both scored in the same way. And of course, there can only be one winner with the highest number of points. Motocross competitions are open to riders of all ages. Starting from the age of 4, unofficially, from the age of 6, it's official. Because those are the requirements when it comes to motorcycle sports. And we can race on motorcycles with engine capacities of 50cc, 60cc, all the way up to 500cc two-strokes, which have admittedly faded into obscurity, but you can still find such races in vintage classes. So to put it simply, motocross is basically a real adrenaline factory, where you can literally feel like you're flying. And of course, it's an addiction that's very hard to escape.
Hello everyone, my name is Maciej Dunek and I am a 10-time Polish champion. I can't even remember how many years I've been doing this, but I think it's been since 1994. I think my most important achievements are definitely the international ones, like winning individual European championships or finishing around 11th place in the MX3 World Championship. If I wanted to encourage someone to try motocross, I would definitely take them to a nearby track. For sure, where the conditions are good, I let them try riding a motorcycle, and I'm sure they'd get hooked.
To start your motocross adventure safely, you first and foremost need to remember about basic protective gear. We need to make sure that we finish every training session the same way we started it in one piece. That's why the most important things for us will be a good helmet, good boots, and it's worth getting knee braces to protect our knees. We need a chest protector, and it's also a good idea to think about elbow guards. And of course, we should also get goggles, gloves, and a full outfit not only for safety, but to look good too. If you're wondering how to start your very first ride, it's important to remember that it should be done in safe conditions, on a closed track, and most importantly, under the supervision of someone who already has experience. So if you don't have a friend who can safely introduce you to this, preferably someone who has really spent several good years riding motocross, has competed in races, and knows what risks are involved, then don't do it with a buddy who just puts you on a motorcycle and says, here's a throttle, here's a clutch. Hey, in that case, it's worth looking for help at motorcycle rental shops, various training schools, or maybe reaching out to a club. There, you'll definitely find someone who will gladly guide you and show you how to do it smartly. How can you verify if the coach you want to go to has the right qualifications? First and foremost, you need to check if they have a license, which confirms that they have completed all the necessary steps to teach safely and provide accurate knowledge about riding and motorcycle safety. It's also worth checking what achievements the coach can boast about. If they themselves have achieved significant success, they certainly know what path needs to be taken, what must be sacrificed, and in which direction to go. You have to move forward step by step, making as few mistakes as possible.
We don't do everything at full throttle. Not every training session is done at maximum effort. We train a lot, technique, fluidity. Of course, speed is very important in this sport. And giving it your all. But sometimes you have to let go That's exactly what I've been explaining to my younger son lately, that sometimes you have to let go. But he didn't listen to me, broke his collarbone, and spent the whole winter recovering. And now he'll be out for a month and a half. So in the end, he'll lose out because of all this. It's hard to master technique on your own. To learn whether from YouTube or other platforms, it's really tough. There always has to be someone standing by, watching, just constantly correcting you. That's the first thing that needs to be done with motocross coaches. You have to develop good technique first and only then speed.
However, it's important to remember that a good rider isn't always a good coach. And sometimes you don't have to be a great rider to be a great coach. The most important thing is attention to detail, a smart approach, and sharing knowledge in a fun way so that we all enjoy ourselves.
I think a parent should stay alert and just also observe and correct what the coach is doing. Of course, there are plenty of parents who, after a month of training, they think they know better than the coach. But unfortunately, motocross, as we mentioned earlier, is all about years of experience, and you're constantly learning something new and always have to make adjustments. So the technique is always evolving, and technique, preparation, methods, they're all things you constantly have to learn and keep making adjustments to.
Motocross is the cheapest form of motorcycle sport because you can save money on tires and a bit on trips to the track since they're much cheaper than asphalt ones, but still it's quite an expensive sport. To start doing it safely, you need to have a certain budget. We need to have about 20,000 for a motorcycle that we can actually ride, not just keep in the garage and repair. But above all, you have to remember about the right gear, which will ensure your safety on the motorcycle. It's not worth trying to save money here, but of course, everyone has a set budget, so I think that to buy a good helmet, it's worth spending at least 1,000 PLN. That way, we can be sure it will have all the necessary systems to protect our head from serious injury in case of a fall. As for goggles, here we can go a bit cheaper, and starting from 120 PLN, you can get great glasses that will protect your eyes. They'll shield you from rocks flying up from the wheels, sand and dust, which are of course everyday occurrences in motocross. When it comes to chest protectors, also known as a buser, there's a wide range of options. You can buy armor starting from 500 or even 1000 PLN, depending on the systems it uses. You can also go for something a bit more comfortable, so to speak, and get a more minimalistic chest protector. Starting from around 400 PLN, which will provide protection specifically for your chest. It will protect you from rocks, as well as impacts, whether it's hitting the handlebars or in more serious crashes. In my opinion though, the most important thing is the boot. It probably happens most often that it's your feet that come into contact with the ground. And honestly, injuries don't care whether you're an amateur or professional. Injuries can happen to anyone, so it's really worth investing in those boots because they're what will protect you. Our ankle joint, our foot, which can be very fragile. To buy good footwear, it's worth spending at least 1,000 PLN, and boots with a hinge start at 1,500 PLN. It's also worth considering orthoses. The cost of purchasing orthoses is around 2,000 PLN and up for a set. But this will ensure the safety of our knees and help us avoid the high costs of surgery and rehabilitation. However, we can save on mood. Obviously, it doesn't contribute much to safety. However, it's important to remember that the pants have special knee pads made of leather, which protect us from hot parts of the engine. They are also made from materials that, in the event of a fall, will help prevent us from getting badly scraped up. And of course, the better we look, the faster we go. We simply ride. So here, as I say, it's up to you how much you want to spend on it. Pants start at 300 PLN, shirts from 100 PLN, and gloves also from 100 PLN. If you have around 5,000 to 6,000 PLN, you can easily dress well and safely for riding a motorcycle, in branded, proven gear with certifications that confirm their quality.
You could say the budget ranges from several tens of thousands to, in fact, unlimited, because as we mentioned earlier, it depends on what someone can afford. it depends on what ambition someone has and what they want to achieve. Because if someone wants to have fun, ride in Poland and go from race to race a few times a year, that's a different budget. But if someone wants to achieve success on a global scale, then that's already, I would suggest that if someone wants to achieve success on a global scale, they should definitely ride in Poland as little as possible. I think it's better not to count those large amounts. And as we mentioned, if someone just wants to have fun in their own backyard, then one bike is enough, plus a van, and that's all you need. Another thing is that sometimes people simply overinvest. That's a different issue as well. And simply, well, a good coach who has connections and knows the ins and outs, knows what kind of budget to work with. Simply put, it's scaled to the level of the rider, so to speak.
So let's move on to the advantages and disadvantages of motocross. When it comes to the benefits of practicing our beloved off-road riding on tracks, I think it definitely includes building character, learning discipline, and taking responsibility for oneself. And your motorcycle too, because you also have to prepare it to be ready for training. Being able to set priorities, right? Because now you won't go out to a party in the evening since you have to go to training the next day. Motocross will also be a great foundation, really, in my opinion, for any sport. Whether it's different types of other motorcycle sports, because we'll already be good at assessing the level of traction our tires have. This will be very useful for us in road racing. We'll have a lot of courage, which can come in handy in speedway. We'll know how to use the clutch, how to jump, which will be a really great skill in enduro, whether on small or large motorcycles, but also in all other sports, whether cycling or, let's say, endurance sports, because we'll have a solid foundation, we'll really have an indomitable character, and we won't cry like football players.
Motocross definitely provides a strong foundation for other sports. It requires a lot of physical fitness and, above all, concentration. It teaches you racing lines, just like in cars or other disciplines. For sure, we motocross riders have great endurance, and we spent countless hours on these bikes. A lot of riders who switch from motocross to speedway are immediately good, because speedway riders only do a few laps. But during our training, we ride for an hour or more, and so on. The same goes for fitness when we go cycling. It's not like we only ride motorcycle. We also have good fitness because we're constantly riding those bikes. That's our preparation for motocross.
As for the downsides, personally, I wouldn't find any, but of course we have to mention injuries. I still think it's better to break an arm or a leg than to spend your life hanging around the store with no passion. But you have to admit, motocross is a dangerous sport, and injuries, honestly, they happen to everyone, because this sport is all about pushing your limits and finding your own boundaries. So injuries happen often. Obviously, if we do it with the right gear and under the supervision of a good coach, we can reduce the risk. That's why we also need to prepare ourselves physically by training at the gym, stretching a lot, and taking care of our body's development. That way we can minimize it. Of course, not to zero, but as much as possible.
However, you really have to train a lot and work on everything around it. I still go to the gym twice a week. I ride a bike almost every day, either on a stationary bike or outside, simply to reduce the risk of injury, because sometimes we're just tired but still want to keep going after all. Amateurs are usually the most ambitious.
The most expensive part of motocross is, of course, the racing itself. Trips to distant places, track fees, getting the bike in perfect condition with new tires and full equipment. That all costs a lot. But remember, you don't have to do it in a strictly professional way. You can have fun with motocross and you really don't have to race. Of course, when you go to the track on your own, you'll set new goals for yourself and want to be better than you were at the last training session. But you can just have fun with it. You can have a great time with friends, meet new people, and really enjoy your time at the track.